On the I Am Drive is SheInspires. SheInspires profiles inspiring women of our times across all sectors of society. Join us as our distinguished guests share their lives with us, their journey behind the scenes, why they do what they do, life's lessons garnered over the years, their faith, family life and work balance, and so much more. Welcome to another edition of SheInspires, celebrating the creativity and critical services of Christian women in all levels of our society. Our distinguished guests share their lives with us, their faith, why they do what they do, the journey behind the scenes, family and work-life balance, how they get it all done, also their hobbies, and most importantly, 3 life's lessons. Today, SheInspires training has landed in the office of Vista Pieces, the lovely office of Vista Pieces. And our guest on SheInspires today is the creative director of Vista Pieces, Faith Ametorgoh. Faith, it's great to have you on SheInspires.
Lovely to have you in our studio.
You have a beautiful place here.
Thank you.
So tell us about this lovely place you have here, Vista Pieces, and what goes on here.
Well, you're welcome to Ambience Vista. We are actually called Ambience Vista.
Ambience Vista.
Vista Pieces is one of our products.
Okay.
We are a color consulting and design studio based in Hacho. And what we do, our services, is very interesting. People don't know there are actually color consultants. So one of our main services is we do color consultation. We also offer painting services. We offer paint consultation as well. So for architects, for interior designers who have projects they are working on but do not have an idea of the right products to use and how to use them before the painting deal is done, we consult and give them advice on what products to use. And we have Vista Pieces, a beautiful handcrafted homeware collection that we just launched recently.
What are some of the uses of your Vista Pieces products that you've had so far?
All of our pieces are multi-purpose. So there is no one size fits it. It's multi-purpose. For example, some of our vases that you see on here, they are beautiful planters. You can use them for your utensils. You can use them on their own as decorative pieces. You can, if you have friends over, you open a bottle of wine, you can just use this as an ice bucket and store it on your dining table. They are just amazing.
And these are made right here in Ghana,
right
Ambience
here
Vista
in Ghana.
Wow.
Actually, in my garage.
In your garage?
The workshop is in my garage at home.
Wow.
So my team comes to work in the morning, we go to the garage, and then we start work.
Oh my, the finishing is so beautiful.
Thank you.
So take us back to your childhood, growing up. What was growing up like?
Well, where do I start from? It's a whole lot, but I'm a pastor's daughter. My daddy is a reverend minister. Yes. And he's always on the run, you know, evangelizing here and there, always traveling up and down. But I'm the first of 5 siblings, and being the firstborn, shout outs to all firstborns in Ghana. The load and the responsibility can be enormous, but it was fun, because I've never been alone without my siblings. So even as of now that I am married, I still have my siblings. My home is their home. They are always welcome. They come in as and when they want. And we are very tight. We are a very close-knit family. So it's been there. Unfortunately, along the line, you know, divorce happened and everything. And I had to take my siblings under my wing because I didn't want them scattered and separated across. So I decided to bring all of them. We grew up together. It's been fun when the family was together. I remember sometimes during Christmas, we go for church service. When it's Christmas, we do all these decorative activities at home. It was very fun and interesting. And then all of a sudden, you have that taken away. So the sharp contrast was too much for all of us. Myself being the firstborn, I had to be a mom and a dad to my siblings as well. So I am a child myself, and having to play the role of mom and dad to my siblings, I had a lot of learning to do along the way. So I made tons of mistakes. But through it all, God has blessed me and my siblings. We've actually pushed through. And my life and their lives is a living testimony of what God can do. So.
I want to know how you managed to get them all under your wings, because how old were you at the time when you had to do this?
I think I was 16, 17. Not too long after secondary school, and that was when it happened. In fact, the divorce happened when I was still reading marketing, SIM. I was still in school. I was in level 200, and then the divorce happened. So at the point I had to drop out got a job, and my siblings were, scattered around. Dad had placed them with uncles, aunties, friends, and all that. So I had to become the stubborn child. I had to manage to steal them from where they were, and that brought a little rift between me and Dad. But it was for the good. The idea of having us scattered around and having everybody, the 5 of us scattered around, didn't sit well with me. I wanted us to grow together. I remember when we were very young, I'll tell them, when I grow and I'm in Accra, you'd live with me. Family is everything. I've always loved to have family around, siblings, parents, cooking, the whole family unit.
So you weren't in Accra at the time?
We weren't in Accra at the time. Because of
Where were you?
Ministry, we were based, so we grew up, some part of my life, we grew up in Tema. Some part of my life, we grew up in Somanya, and then finally, before the divorce, we grew up in Kong.
So talking about having to drop out of school and get a job to support yourself and your siblings, what kind of jobs did you find yourself doing and trying to support the family?
It's been, when you are still in school or right out of school, you do your internship. So I was with a company called Will & Partners. They are an advertising company in Asylum Down. And then that was where the journey started for me. So doing internship, because of marketing and all that, they send you on assignments. When there's a project, you go, you are learning the errands. They send you back and forth, you're doing them. So that was how I started.
A little bird whispered to me that there was a time when if we ever saw a number on a poster somewhere we called, it could be your voice showing us where we could get a building to rent. Is that true? Is that true?
It is. So the many things I do. Well, let me say this whole entrepreneurial journey for me started when I was still very young. I remember I would save up my allowance for school and buy groundnuts and do inkati cake or popcorn for my siblings to sell. The whole idea of making my own money was something that I really loved from infancy. The whole fact that I'm able to make money or sow money and have it multiply. So if I have, let's say, 10 pesos and I could get 30 pesos out of it, then I'm happy. It was very exciting for me. I wasn't this, be in the classroom, learn math. I'm not very good at chew and pour. So some people think, because of our educational system, those who can actually pour what they've chewed are seen as smart. But let's have the conversation. I want life skills. I want to do things. I want you to tell me, do this way, and this is the results. And that's what. So along the line, I had an accident, and then I was out of a job for a while. And then being at home, I was reflecting one time.
How did that accident happen? Tell us.
Well, that's a long story.
Shorten it for us.
I was from church, a church event one evening, and then I alighted from the car upon crossing the road. I saw this high flashlight on me, so I lost my sight for a second. But I hurried up to cross the road. So I think I had finished crossing. I was on the pedestrian, it was a bus stop. So you have the road, and then there's a portion that goes inside for the cars to veer off the road to park. And then I climbed on the pavement, only for me to hear, I don't know even if I heard it. I just saw myself flying in the air, and I landed. I think I lost consciousness for a while, but I regained it again. Then at that point in time, I started saying to myself, I shall not die, but live to declare the words of God. My dad, being a pastor, had always coached us from a very young age. Like, we always declare words of faith. So in whatever situation we are, we still encourage ourselves. So immediately something happens. That was the first thing that came to mind. And I started declaring, I shall not die, but I will live to declare the goodness of God. Then I felt people trying to lift me up. And I felt this sharp pain on my right side. So I could tell them, don't lift me from that side.
Okay.
But the doctors later on told me that was a very good move, because it would have worsened the fracture. Had I been lifted, yes.
Had they lifted you, had they not lifted?
Had they lifted me from that side,
where you're feeling the pain,
where I was feeling the pain, it would have made things worse. So I was able to tell them this way and that way. And then we didn't end up in the police station. The person dropped me off on the way, a whole lot of things. But through it all, God has been faithful. What was the effect on your life
after the accident? Were you able to just get back to work?
Not at all, not at all. It had a very tremendous effect on my life. It has, once you have a fracture, once you've had, because I had fractures on my shoulder, my hip, my knee, my ankle. Once you have that amount of fracture, your life will never be the same again. Of course, you stand for a while, you're doing something. Things as simple as sweeping or using the asanka to grind pepper, you feel pain in your shoulder. Or I'm sweeping a room, you feel pain in your shoulder. But that is not an excuse, though. Your life will, but you would learn to adapt along the way.
So were you able to get up to work quickly, or it took a while?
Oh, I was in a wheelchair for about close to a year.
Close to a year?
Yes, and I was using crutches also for more than a year, actually. So for a time, I found it difficult crossing the road or being behind the wheel to drive. It took family, it took prayers, it took a lot of encouragement from my family, my husband, before I could even drive again.
Would you say that was like the toughest time in your life, when maybe, I don't know whether I should say it shook your faith a little? Was that tough time in your life? If you can share with us, would you?
Recovery wasn't the toughest time. It was during the recovery, during the healing. Because when you are, as a woman, at that time of the month, you need people to help you change. That was humiliating for me. You need people to help you to the loo. That was very humiliating. So I would be crying, not because I'm in pain from the accident. Of course, it was painful. But it was the fact that you become, quote unquote, useless. Because in that situation, that's how you feel. Like I have to depend on everybody for everything. And I'll be crying, and my grandma will come over. My mom, family was always there. I'm a family person, you know. So they would always be around and encouraging me. One time my grandma was crying and like, if you cry, you make me cry. If you cry, you make me feel sad, because we can't help you in this situation. And we're always around. If there's anything we could do to help you, let us know. And I told them, you are doing all you can, but I'm just feeling so sorry for myself that I cannot get up and move about. And this is a young girl who is always on the move, doing one thing or the other, doing some
tripling her 10
pesos. So being home for almost 3 years without doing anything, I just couldn't deal with it. So after recovery, I relocated from where we were. Then I was like, no, we have to get things moving. My younger siblings were done from school. Some of them were in Legon, some of them were in Gimpa and all of that. And I'm like, I can't sit. So one of them had graduated, the third born, and we were in Achimota by then, somewhere around Achimota. And I started going around with my crutches to landlords, asking them, well, I'm a young lady, we just relocated here and I'm an estate agent. So I want to find out if you have some properties to let. And the mere fact that I came around asking with a crutch, was what fascinated them somewhat. So one landlord I met started calling his friend landlords and telling them, Charlie, there's this young lady here.
This nice lady.
This nice, very beautiful. She's very hardworking. The whole fact that I went with my crutches in my situation, I still wanted to, even in my difficulty, was what opened the door for me. And I started.
Let's talk about, you had a corporate job. Which one would say was fairly paying you well, you were comfortable, and then you decided to let it go to become an entrepreneur full-time. Tell us about that decision process.
So it all started from this real estate thing I was telling you about. Every opportunity that has come my way, I have never been qualified for. It's never been if I say qualified for, it's never been by my intellect. It's never been by my own strength. It's always been a miracle, and God has always found a way of making things happen for me. So when I started the real estate job, naturally, I love beautiful spaces. So my friends, if you're around me, you would know that if you tell Faith, okay, I'm moving to a new place, what do we do to style it up? I would always come up with an idea. Let's paint an old wine bottle. Let's paint some shelves. Let's do something. Let's change it up a bit. So a friend's friend, who was an architect, one day wanted to renovate his living room and spoke to my friend that, Charlie, I want to repaint and, do the decor in my living room, but I don't know what to do. Then quickly my friend, she's called Dorcas, then she's like, oh, I have a friend who likes these things. She can actually come in here and help you out. So Dorcas brought him to my place. And I was like, oh, I have a small place, so if you can come look at it. Mind you, I'm still an agent. So I'm like, okay, well, let's go and have a look. But I'm not an interior designer or a decorator. He said, oh, no problem. I heard you are very creative. So I just need your creativity. That's what matters. So then we went, we looked at the place. And immediately, like when I get into a space, my mind starts, so let's put this here, let's do this here, let's do that and that. I started taking notes. Then I was like, wow, have you done project management before? I didn't even know of that. And I'm like, no. So he said, okay, I could help you. I'm like, okay, that's fine. So he started telling me, you take a project brief. What you are doing now is called, you are taking a brief, a client's briefing. And I'm like, then I just named the title because I was just making notes, put a couch here, put this here. So when he told me it was a client brief, then I named it client brief. Then we started. On my way back, I started researching. You know, before all this internet thing started, I have always been an e-learning girl.
Okay.
When COVID happened, people really appreciated what e-learning meant.
I agree.
Because when you tell them, oh, I did a course online, they won't really take you serious. Until COVID happened and people were graduating in their rooms, then people really understood. But before then, I had already caught the vision that I've always been an e-learning girl. So I went online. How to start a business as an interior decorator. The information available was enormous. Then I started, okay, so what do I do? What do I do to handle a project? Then a mutual friend of my husband's owns a business school, and they run project management courses, Benchmark Professional Training Center. Then I gave him a call and was like, Faith, I have a place for you. Come and enroll and have it done. So immediately, whilst doing that job, I was enrolling and taking the project management course, and that was where my eye opened. I'm like, wow, there's a whole lot of planning and documentation to do to get the thing rightfully done. It's not like you're just doing things by heart, like put this here. No, there's a system, there's a way to actually monitor and check if you're ticking all the correct points, if the project is going as planned. And I enrolled in that course and did it, and it was an eye-opener. So after I did his living room, he did a small get-together, and some of his church members came in there. They got inside and like, hey, Theo Chale, he said, oh, I have a designer who did it for me. And they were like, okay, our church premises we've gotten to that stage where we have to paint. So if she could pass by, and they called me, and that was my big breakthrough. Wow. I did the Pentecost church in Teshi. I did the painting, the color scheming and painting for them, and it was amazing. So then now I have experience from one project to the other. Then I purchased all my products from Coral Paints Ghana. And then, when I buy a product, naturally, like I buy makeup, anything, tin, tomatoes, whatever, I would always read. My daddy encouraged me. I started reading at 4. My daddy would always let you read. So you buy something, you would read before you throw it. You don't even throw them away. You have to read documents. When you have a dream, he'll tell you to write it down. So he's an educationist. He wants you to read and empower yourself with a lot of knowledge. So I buy the paint and I'm reading on the gallon. I'm reading the information. Okay, this is how to apply it. This is the waiting time before you recoat. And I'm like, Charlie, this thing. So I contacted Coral Paints Ghana. I found their email from one of the chats. I bought the paint from them all. And I wrote them a letter. I'm like, I'm a young lady. I'm an interior decorator. I started a company. I have a team of, I think I had a team of about 5 painters.
At the time.
And nobody can know, I still remember the email, nobody can know a product more than the owner of the product themselves. So I would want to bring my team over for some training so that on my next project, I make sure I'm on the right path and doing the right thing. So apparently, the email caught the attention of the owner of the company. Then about 2 to 3 weeks later, I received a call that we're actually having our painters seminars on this day. So you can send us the name of your team members and all that. So I applied. We went for the seminars. I went for the training. It was a turning point. I was so shocked. There I learned, say, you will paint and you will paint. I learned so much that I didn't know about. From preparation to primers to fillers to why you use this, why you do that for a perfect finish. I was fascinated. 2 days after that, I received a call from the owner, and he said, Faith, when you came, we've been watching you. Wow. We've been following you for a while. I went to your Facebook page and everything. And we have a color center, and I want you to come and help manage the color center.
How did you feel about that call?
My dear, when I was sitting down, I didn't even know, I was on cloud 9. I couldn't believe it. Because I remember when I started this real estate thing, I would tell my sister, my little sister was living with me by then, helping me. She's amazing. And I would tell her how one day, even with nothing, I would open my own interior decor studio and how I would have products and we'll be discussing and speaking by faith. So when the call came, I'm like, I can't believe this is actually happening. And one thing that made me realize that God had a plan, a hand in this, was that when I was writing SIM, I remember customer communication. The case study I had was, you are the marketing manager of Akzo Nobel. And then the question continued. And Coral Dulux is actually Akzo Nobel. So when I received, interesting, so I'm like, when he called me and I went to the office and he offered, that was the thing that came. I just remembered the exam. In that exam, I had a B.
Wow.
I just remembered the exam, marketing, and I'm like, this might actually be coming true. So does it mean that exam, God was telling me something? Anyway, so I was like blown away. And then he's like, give us your offer. What do you want? He didn't even say this is what we are offering you. He said, mention what you want. We will train you. Everything will be at your disposal. This is the color. I was blown away.
So let's talk about Ambience Vista. Along the way, building your own business, what are some of the things you're learning? Some things you know you'll not do again if you have to set up another business. Let's talk about the journey of entrepreneurship.
Well, you know, before I got the corporate job, I had already started my side hustle. So I knew, of course, sometimes you won't get a project, you won't get a job. If someone doesn't give you a call to rent a house, you won't get your commission. Sometimes you take a client to a place, and after you are done, I used to charge 5%, and you go there and they don't even want to pay the 5%. Even though others are charging 10%, they don't even want to pay you the 5%. So I knew there were challenges. It's not like you're in a corporate job where at the end of every month, I'm getting something. So I missed that though, because you know, you could just go on your phone.
That was like some
and
security.
Shop. It was
every
for me
month.
and for the family every month. And it was a very well-paying job with so many fantastic opportunities, traveling, learnings, and all of that. So coming back to the entrepreneurial journey, well, it's tougher than I thought it will be. But I'm not one who quits. So we are on the right path. The reason is that we are trying to do everything right from the start. We are not cutting corners. So someone was like, oh, you're just starting, so why invest so much in packaging? Why? I'm like, yes, that is where I want to go to, and I'm ready to make the sacrifice. I had to use all my savings for 7 years to invest into it, but it's because I know where I want the brand to go. I want Vista Pieces to be a product that you, not just, when you purchase Vista Pieces, you are purchasing a lifestyle. You are purchasing someone who cares, someone who's very thoughtful. A lot of thought and attention has been given to the product, right from the conception to the finishing. When someone gives you a Vista piece, from the moment you receive the gift box, you're like, wow, are you sure this is made in Ghana?
So it's been worth your savings of 7 years.
It is.
Let's talk about your family. Take us into your family.
Well, what do you want to know?
Everything about your family.
Oh my goodness.
Who you're married to, how many children you have.
Okay.
So how you balance Vista, Ambience Vista, and family life?
There's no balance, actually. There's no balance, but I've had so much help and support from my family. I couldn't have done it all by myself. I told you, even when I sleep for a while, I feel pain, so I can't take too much physical stress for a long time. So I've had an amazing family. Well, my husband has been very supportive. I remember when I was working, you set the alarm, you wake up, you have your bath, you breastfeed the baby, you're gone. But now I'm able to extend the sleep time just a little bit.
A little.
But I am awake before the alarm goes off. So I'm like an hour and a half awake before the alarm goes off. Because I set the alarm for the children because you have to prepare them for school. So before the alarm goes off, I wake up and then I'm meditating. That's when I do a lot of thinking because it's quiet. That's some me time, so I can think and plan, okay, are there orders to do? What's the team going to work on today and tomorrow and all of that. So when we wake up in the morning, my husband, he takes care of bathing them.
Can we know more about your husband, his name?
Oh, he's Maximus. Maximus Ametorgoh.
Okay.
So he's a digital marketing consultant.
All right.
He does a lot of social media trainings for people. So he's in charge of giving them a bath. Okay. So he gives them a bath. We start from the little one. Then I start dressing them up whilst my sister prepares breakfast. So that's how it's been like. So normally from 6:30 to about 8, it's chaotic because you have to, beg them to come brush their teeth, Sometimes I scream, that's the screaming time. I'm shouting, come and take your bath, come and brush your teeth. And I'm crazy and running about and all that. But once we are done, Daddy drops them off to school. I pick them from school. So it's really it's a shared responsibility at home.
And you have a lot of support as well.
I have a lot.
Tell us, what are some hobbies that you would find you engaging in if you were not working hard at Ambience Vista or taking care of the family?
Funny enough, this is my hobby.
This is
my hobby.
Okay.
So Ambience Vista Pieces is my hobby.
Wow.
So you find me always reading and researching about something. You would find me on my phone learning about current trends, learning about new things to do. That is my hobby. Or creating something. Probably I found an idea and then I try to replicate or see how I can, add my own twist to it and everything. So if you're looking for my hobby, that is it.
Faith, so let's briefly about your faith. How would you say it has helped you through life, through the accidents, through having to work your way to support your family, as the woman you are now running a business? How does your faith come through in all of this?
My faith is everything. My faith is everything. I am nothing without Christ. I'm nothing without God. And through it all, God has always been there for me. Through the difficulty, through the challenges, He's always made a way. And for me, one thing I always say is do not forget God when it is well with you. Even when it is not well with you, acknowledge Him, because there might be some lessons He wants you to learn through it all. So wherever I find myself, I remember at Coral Paint, I always tell my team that don't look at all the negativity that you feel is going on, because it's everywhere. In every institution where there are human beings, there will be challenges. But remember that God has brought you here for a purpose. Whenever God gives you an opportunity, it's two things. For you to first learn and to be a blessing. So when you look at it that way, you don't mind all the things that would distract you, because you are always learning something. For you don't know where or when you would be. All the amazing things I've learned at Coral is what I've carried with me in here. And that's it.
This is SheInspires, an initiative of Sunny TV and Sunny FM, bringing you Christian women in all levels of our society. Today, our guest is Faith Ametorgoh, Creative Director at Vista Pieces. Faith, to round up, share with us 3 lessons you've learned along the way. You talked about some mistakes you made along the way trying to have your siblings under your wings, bringing them up and all. You're a business owner now, you've worked in the corporate circles, you're married, you have children. What are some 3 major lessons you've garnered in all these spheres of your life, if you can share with us?
The first one I would say is, do not forget God when it is well with you. And in every circumstance you find yourself, acknowledge that God is there. God has your back. His plans for you are always good, no matter what you are in. Sometimes, you go through life and you feel that, Charlie, is this God? Okay, if it is God, then why did He allow this to happen to me? We are always like, why this, why that? But we never pause to say, thank you, God, for the lessons I'm going to learn through this situation. And I'm going to be a blessing and a testimony to somebody. Secondly, for marriage, don't go in with expectations. Live a day at a time. Don't go in with too many expectations. But every day you wake up, thank God for the little ones, the little things that has been done. And don't worry too much of what has not been done or what could have been done. It will get there. It will get there. It will come. And finally, take a time for yourself. Enjoy yourself. Pamper yourself. Look in the mirror and tell yourself, I am it. I am everything. Encourage yourself. Tell yourself it is well. Look at yourself and prophesy to yourself. Psych yourself up. Play some music. Find time in the week and have time for yourself. You need it for your sanity.
Find time in the week and find time for yourself. This has been SheInspires with our guest, Faith Ametorgoh, Creative Director at Vista Pieces. And she's hosted us here in her lovely office. So, Faith, how can people who are loving, who are seeing these beautiful pieces, how can they find you and know more about Ambience Vista?
You can follow us on Facebook and on Instagram at Vista Pieces. And that is it.
This is SheInspires, brought to you by Sunny TV and Sunny FM. And for this month of May, we are celebrating Christian women in all levels of society, celebrating their creativity and their critical services they bring on board our nation. Our guests share the journey behind this, since they're sharing their lives with us, their faith, and why they do what they do. Thank you all for joining us on SheInspires. Catch us on our next edition. I'm JJD. I've been your host. Bye-bye. On the I Am Drive is SheInspires. SheInspires profiles inspiring women of our times across all sectors of society. Join us as our distinguished guests share their lives with us, their journey behind the scenes, why they do what they do, life's lessons garnered over the years, their faith, family life and work balance, and so much more.